Hey guys, Xiao here. Writing vertically is one of those things we used to do back in the day in China, but rarely do today. That's why I've always found it very interesting that Japan still do it to this day. But reality in Japan is, which I learned after living here, is you don't really write vertically and you rarely need to read vertically. Most of the texts you'll need to deal with in Japan, school, at work, everywhere else, are printed horizontally. The reality of vertical writing in Japan today is it's reserved pretty much exclusively for works of art and literature, and newspapers. So if you want to read mangas or novels in their original Japanese like I do, that's when you have to deal with it. Mangas are very straightforward to read since the texts are usually short, the font size are large, and the words used are simple. One thing that did trouble me was, since you read from right to left, when you read mangas from Japanese websites, you click on the left arrow or you swipe right for the next page. That took me some time to get used to since it's the other way around from everywhere else. At a lower level, the order of boxes and speech bubbles you read also kind of follows the top to bottom and right to left order. This came up when I wanted to translate comics in English into Japanese. It can be unnatural if the text is read from left to right and yet the speech bubbles are read from right to left, or vice versa. When you print something into multiple columns, like in a Bible, this is how you read it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The same thing is done for Japanese Bible as well, but it's a bit trickier to read. This is how it looks like. How you read it is, you go like this from right to left, then rather than going for what looks like a continuation of the same column on the next page, you stay on the same page. You finish that page, then you read the next page. And this also explains the order you're supposed to read a manga. When boxes are broken into columns, you finish the first column, then you go for the next. Texts in newspapers printed in Japanese are also broken down into columns. Seeing how vertically written text can have columns really beg the question, if you have a column that's horizontal, should it still be called a column? Reading long blocks of text written vertically has been challenging for me, especially when it's not broken down into columns, like this book. But with time, I think I'm getting the hang of it. So let's also talk about some interesting tidbits about vertical text in Japanese. You might not have noticed, but printing something or displaying it on screen vertically takes more than just lining the same characters up vertically. For some characters, you will need separate glyphs depending on whether it's being displayed horizontally or vertically. A common example is the dash in katakana words for long vowels. When printed vertically instead of a horizontal dash, you need a vertical one. Now you might be thinking, why can't I just rotate the same character 90 degrees and call it a day? Well, remember, Japanese text, like Chinese, used to be written with an ink brush. And you always start from the top left. This leaves a mark. If you rotate that 90 degrees, the mark is going to look like you started writing from the top right, which looks pretty unnatural. So what you really need is a separate character for the vertical dash that has the starting mark on the top left. Another example is the small kanas. As we discussed in this video, traditionally, they stick to the top right of a line when written vertically, but when they're written horizontally, they stick to the bottom left. Punctuation marks also receive the same treatment. The most striking difference between Chinese and Japanese when it comes to vertical writing is, in Japanese, horizontal writing sometimes appear in the same context as well. And in Chinese, when that happens, if you have older horizontal writing, it's always written from right to left, the same as how you would write it when you write vertically. It's just one character per row. This is still very common for shop signs today in China. In Japanese, so writing from right to left has become more of a thing of the past. So when you see something horizontally written in Japanese, the first instinct should be reading it from left to right. At the end of the day, I think vertical writing in Japanese is going to remain as prevalent as it is today. So if you want to get some deeper understanding about the Japanese culture, it's probably worth your time to just train yourself to learn how to read vertically. And hey, the experience of using a Japanese library is much better with a language that's designed to be printed on book spines compared to the English library where you have to do this until your neck hurts. It's just terrible. And it's interesting to imagine what if we live in a world where vertical writing has taken over as a prevalent way of writing things, like in this world. How it look like? I think YouTube might look like this. So thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to be awesome.